Welcome back, boys and girls. We've lost our jackets because it's hot in here. I'm Jan Gustafsson, and once again I'm being joined by the brand star Tomai Hodor. Grandmaster Peter Svidler is with us. Peter, what do we have to look forward to in round number 3?
Looking for an immediate favorite. Giri Nakamura might be interesting in terms of personal rivalries. But of course, if we're talking about personal rivalries, the game between Topalov and Kramnik should be top of the list. And they do seem to be getting along somewhat better these days than they used to consistently over ever since the infamous match in Alista. But they actually gave a very, very exciting press conference together in Norway Chess. That was one.
We were part of history. First
Yeah.
press conference, joint press conference with these two guys for a while.
And it was an interesting one. I mean, if you haven't seen, I'm not sure if highlights exist of this, but if they do, it's very well worth checking out. I think for the sheer comedy of it all, and the way they disagreed about every single assessment of every single position they discussed over the board.
Kramnik tends to be a little optimistic in his press conference evaluations.
Yeah, but I think that particular one was a tremendous example of that. Maybe the best of its kind. So once again, I'm not sure if you can actually look this up, but if it does exist, I recommend going back and watching that. For me, I felt like just sort of sitting back and letting them speak to each other was more than enough. There, they were creating all the drama that was required.
So of course we gotta keep a close eye on question number 1. Will there be a handshake? Will there be no handshake? What's gonna happen? Oops. There we see. I guess that's Veslin's hat. Like, still not used to this camera angle. Is that his hat? I think that's his hat. Who else could it be?
You keep on saying hat. There is no hat there, as you can see plainly, because you can see the hair.
Are you getting like picky about my pronunciation again? Are we playing that game?
You're confusing me with your. I keep on looking up startled, expecting to see people wearing hats. Hikaru does this on occasion. It wouldn't be.
I see.
Impossible.
It's gonna be that kind of day. I'm gonna have to watch my TH, and I'm gonna have to stop staring at Veslin's head. But I'm more focused on his hand anyway, because I'm wondering if it will shake. This blue shirt's hand on the other side. I'm going with no. What are you saying?
Yeah, I think probably still no. They were allowed not to. There was a special dispensation saying that if no one objects, people can actually not shake hands before the game.
But it looks like Vladimir is disinfecting his left thumb. Maybe that's a sign that he's preparing to shake hands, but he wants to make very sure not to hand over any. I don't know.
He's definitely.
He's teasing. He should have grabbed that.
Yeah, disinfecting everything seemingly.
He has this habit. I'm not sure if he does it to you to adjust his opponent's pieces. Like when I played him, he kept adjusting my pieces. I didn't like it.
I'm not sure he's been doing that very much recently, but he has these mannerisms. We all have all kinds of weird mannerisms. I also generally try to make the board as clean as possible before play, but
Me too.
adjusting your opponent's pieces is.
Speaking of adjusting, that wasn't us, but the colors just magically changed.
Yeah.
How did that happen? E4, no handshake.
No handshake, so we can actually start discussing chess.
E4, E5, that's a well-known position. Knight F3, Knight C6, Bishop B5. Knight F6 is what Kramnik tends to do here. D3, Bishop C5. Continuing their theoretical debate from Norway Chess and many other places. C3, whatever, castles, D6.
Yeah, Vlad generally plays D6, I think, but Rook E8 is also a perfectly playable move, but not something Vladimir has been doing too much.
I think even D5 is a move, but it's really fallen out of fashion. D6, and here, we've seen H3, we've seen Knight D2, we've seen Rook E1, we've seen most legal moves here.
Yeah, I think more or less everything has been explored to a degree.
h3 on the board. 97, bishop a4 is the game we've seen earlier between Magnus Carlsen and Wesley So. d4, bishop b6, bishop d3 tends to be the line en vogue here. Let's see what Veselin comes up with. What did he do in the last game? Was some d4, bishop b6, bishop d3, and then some quick p4, a4. I can't remember.
Yeah, trying to remember, but coming up blank there. Yeah, g4, bishop b6, and rook e1. Isn't this what I played against Karyakin in? And they for some reason stopped playing d5 in this position. We don't actually have this.
Vachier won a nice game against Karyakin in this d5 line where he got like a tiny edge.
We do actually get the board of all this. Yes, so yeah, knight g6. People switch to playing knight g6 here, and I'm not entirely sure why, because to my mind, d5 comes very, very close to complete equality in these positions. But for some reason, yeah, people have switched over to playing the slower game, so to speak.
Yeah, knight bd2.
And of course, I mean, it's an obvious thing to say, but still, it's worth mentioning that both of these guys are huge specialists in this line and played with both colors, so it's very difficult for them to surprise each other somehow.
Bishop d3, I'm sure it has been played, but yeah, at first sight bishop f1 looks more natural, right?
Well, you need to, I think by playing bishop d3, you are trying to make moves like knight f1, knight g3 possible, but it still will be quite hard. Rook e8, bishop c2, sidestepping.
No, maybe there's some.
Knight f1, d5, I think might be quite strong. So by playing bishop c2, white avoids these tactics and this fork with e5, e4, and Vlad blitzes out bishop c7. So it seems like they're both aiming for a very similar type of position, maybe even the exactly the same position.
Yeah, knight f1 might still be d5. Like
yeah, you could very easily still play d5 in this position. I'm trying to think if this is actually how the game between MVL and Kramnik went. d5, knight e5, takes, and then something with.
I don't think it was this exact position, but very, very similar. It's all very blurred because all these positions look so similar.
a4, a5, Vlad continues playing extremely quickly, so it seems like he's looked at this particular position in some detail, and none of these decisions by Topalov are surprising to him. We have another one of those anti... Do we? Yeah, we do.
No, this is a... I was going to say, I think it's a true Copiano, but it's not. And just as I said, that I think d5 is a decent move, but no one's playing it. My boy Levon Aronian bringing it back. He goes d5 here instead of d6. Yeah, the reason this had fallen a bit out of fashion is this surprising ed, queen d5, bishop c4. But when I last checked this, I thought it was kind of okay for black.
Yeah, b4, bishop b6, and bd2 played by Magnus, to which Lev replies with bishop f5. I guess queen e2, rook d8, knight e4 is the prescribed way to deal with this, because you don't really want to lose your d3 pawn early in the piece.
Yeah, I can't remember if rook d8 was the move to play here.
Well, it's the most straightforward way of playing, and just bishop b6 here, I guess, or bishop g4, but both seem very playable for black. But here maybe you can sort of try and pretend you're slightly better after a4, a5, b5, bishop a3, I don't know. Maybe a4, a6 is actually stronger than a4, a5 here.
No, black has to be careful, but yeah, I thought this was a playable line, and I'm surprised. Seen so little. But now Levon is doing me the favor of bringing it back. We have a not very popular, but still quite known line.
A pure Reti, yeah? Not something...
b3, c5, bishop b2. Most people go knight c6 here, but then there is this line which is gaining some traction. cd followed by d4. Might be nothing, but it's an unpleasant nothing. Therefore, Hikaru plays a more ambitious move, grabbing space. Very double-edged decision.
Yeah, e3, knight c6, takes, rook e1, and the immediate knight e8, because you need to fight with the idea of knight e5.
Yeah, rook e8 is another line here, but it doesn't fully equalize. I've played this with black, but I didn't enjoy myself very much. I decided it's too risky.
Takes f6, rook goes back, e5, bishop a3.
I've had this position against someone. I didn't play knight d6, I can't remember what I did. But I thought black was in some trouble here. Still looks like Hikaru clearly prepared this.
Yeah, he feels that before allowing white to trade these bishops, it's important for him to improve the position of this knight. And from f7 it might go to g5, e6 later on, or just stay on f7 because it protects the structure, works against
f5.
Yeah, supports f5, works against potential f4 breaks, which might not have been very stupid with a knight on e8. With a knight on f7, they're much less attractive for white. So takes 92 is on the board, and yeah, it's a very playable position for both sides. If I had to pick, I'd pick white, but a5, bishop, I don't know, e6.
You still gotta keep an eye, even though f4, yeah, doesn't put as much pressure on the center. It's kind of tricky to deal with sometimes. We'll see. Anish probably happy to get play position as well. And in Caruana Fressinet, we have another highly topical line at the highest level, trying to make something happen from this position.
Yeah, and b3 has been... I always felt that b3 is the one move which does lead to somewhat unbalanced positions, and because of that, it's maybe the best try white has. Queen b3 is also obviously an interesting choice, but there's been a lot of theoretical discussion there, and yeah, b3, the most critical way to deal with this is dc4, bc4, c5, of course, and I think the current state of the theory in this position says that black should hold.
We've recently seen this by Anish Giri.
Yeah, Anish, I think, claimed in a press conference that, yeah, it does look slightly worse for black, but he did enough clicking there to be absolutely convinced that it holds. And it might very well hold. I mean, Anish is no slacker when it comes to analyzing positions deeply and precisely. But bishop f5 followed by knight e4 is a quieter approach, which is also reasonably solid, and Fabi is not looking for a force draw against Fress. Not that he necessarily wants to beat him with black, but he wants to get a game, and if an opportunity presents itself, he will start playing for 3 results.
Yeah, white doesn't want that much of these positions. Normally he goes knight c3 or knight d2, but normally knight c3, exchange off one knight, and then put your rook somewhere, slowly start expanding on the queen side. That's why Fabi goes a5, just to nip all these b4 ideas in the bud. And also, yeah, a4 is up in the air now.
Yeah, takes bishop b4 is also a very typical reaction here, killing off the potential pressure white might have along the long diagonal. But here it allows what Fress has done, cd5, cd5, queen b5, which is a little bit awkward to meet.
Yeah. More typical plan here is like something like bishop h3, intending knight
but
d2.
they just very often they just take and go e6, f5, and the knight comes from d7 to e4 and black. But generally, I think black doesn't play a5 this early in this structure, does he? Maybe he does, yeah? Sometimes, somewhat surprisingly, black develops a very strong attack on the king side in the structures, because for white to achieve anything, he more or less has to give black what he wants on the queen side and play something like rook fc1, rook a b1, b4, and start pushing on the queen side. And yeah, these positions, they look very quiet, but they often turn out to be tremendously sharp later in the game.
A lot of Kamsky model games, normally not out of this opening, but in the structure he's played it a million times. But what we get now is something different. b6 had to be played after queen b5, I guess, to keep the queen side intact.
b6 rook ac1 has been played by Fress, and yeah, it's a bit awkward
Looks like
for black.
a nice little edge, doesn't it?
It's a bit awkward because yeah, you don't want to give white this very nice queen on b5, which currently can't really be challenged in any way, shape, or form. If you move the knight from d7, knight e5 will become an issue. As you correctly pointed out, bishop b2, bishop a3 is a very nice threatening, improving idea for white. And simply controlling the c file is not that easy. I'm a bit surprised that Fabi allowed all this, to be honest.
Maybe Fabi mixed up his lines, went a5 too earlier.
Yeah,
we will never know.
Yeah, it feels like some kind of a slight move or a mix-up has happened. e6, queen e7 is a decent try, but still, let's say bishop b2. If you play queen e7, you allow rook c7, and how happy are you about it?
not happy at all.
I don't think you are. Yeah, rook fd8, rook a, even 95, but rook fc1 as well. I mean, it's just an incredibly passive position where white is having all the fun.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't want to go queen e7, but rook e8 or something. But it all doesn't look very inspiring.
Maybe bishop b2 a4. The idea of meeting ba4 with rook a5, queen a8, some kind of counterplay along the a file.
That's also incredibly risky.
It is,
So
but I
like
think,
that,
you know, black's position is risky enough as is to embark upon something like this, because it might actually be required.
I don't know. Even queen b3 here, I don't trust it. c7 after queen a. We'll see how it goes, but it looks like Fress won the opening battle. How's the world champion doing?
The world champion is playing a very world champion-esque position. Not very much is going on here. In fact, even bishop f3, queen d3 is not ridiculous, but maybe white just ignores it, goes queen b3, and then hopes to drive the queen back by
I
playing.
haven't played a5.
Yeah, a5 is also very normal. I guess a3 is the reply, because b5 97 is well, not something white wants, giving up the c5 square for the black pieces. a3, and now you can once again start considering playing what I mentioned.
Yeah, it's a useful little inclusion, because you're ruling out any ideas of a4, a5, b5.
Yeah, absolutely. I quite like this.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I believe black is very close to equality in all these positions.
Yeah, shouldn't be horrible at all for black. This is the Kramnik-Topalov, and
head game we have on screen is, I don't know, I guess it's all still Kramnik prep.
Very, very likely, and I just wanted briefly to check the move times, because up to a4, a5, knight f1, and maybe even d6, d5, it felt like Vladimir was playing more or less instantaneously. Yeah, the website says 8 seconds on 9 seconds on d5, 8 seconds on e4, and about a minute on queen takes d6. But it seems very, very likely that Vladimir is still following his prep here.
So what's going on in the position? If you have to go here,
I guess just
f5, knight
f5, knight g3, knight h4. You get stuck with those pieces, I think. No, this would be ill-advised.
Winning.
Yeah. You could go knight g5 instead of knight d2, and then follow it up by bishop f5, g4, and perhaps the pawn on e4 is even getting lost in those positions, but the positional compensation for it will be immense.
Is this a move, or am I getting mated?
It definitely is a move, but I think simply rook e7 is efficient enough. Followed by h6. You can play g4 here. Maybe it's a bit of a better version, but
Still intrigued by this.
Knight g3, knight h4.
Getting anywhere? But
Well, if you allow bishop g6, you will end up with your knights very badly stuck there on the king side, I feel.
yeah.
So you need to immediately justify it by some tactics if you play knight g3.
Can't see them. Thinking about f4, but it looks like I'm getting crushed.
Yeah, I think it most likely will backfire quite badly.
So, looks like Kramnik won the opening battle. Veselin is also taking time, so he's clearly not following his prep anymore. And let's check out a different head.
Yeah, the reti seems to be quite fine for black now, and I very much like this idea of playing b6. I think it's a very clever way of dealing with your problems.
How did they get rid of the queen so quickly? Queen c7, b4.
He went bishop d7, bishop c6 more or less straight away.
Shouldn't you stop this? Okay,
Yeah, I wonder about b5 here. I'm curious why Anish didn't spend more time on this option, but Anish went c5 and takes queen f3, which I guess he felt this endgame is slightly better for him because the knight on f7 is passive and he wants to go knight d2, knight c4. But the immediate b6 I like very much as an idea here, because c6 b5 I guess is just perfectly good for black. The pawn on c6 is much more of a weakness than a strength here, and the position they got Black will now have a very nice blockading knight on c6.
Yeah, he's played rook ac1, rook c8, knight reshuffles. But this is, yeah, you gotta be a little careful here with white.
No, I think with the knight on d6 you're not really going to be worse, but and also f4, knight f3. If you need to bail out, you will bail out here without too much difficulty, I feel. But yeah, black is also not really worried. You could maybe even make an argument for rook c6, rook ac8.
That's why I was wondering if maybe it makes sense to double here first.
Yeah. No, black is quite comfortable here. Should be around equal. And first goes knight e5 instead of bishop b2. I was wondering about that actually, because with the queenside structure being what it is, if black is forced to take on e5, the bishop will come to g4 and the pawn on b6 will come under severe pressure. So it makes perfect sense for me positionally.
Yeah. If you go bishop e5, same story, yeah?
It's still kind of unpleasant, yeah. Bishop e5, d.
Takes. Also wondering if there's any clever Zwischenzugs here, but
bishop f1 hits the queen on b5. So.
Oh, yeah. And this is unpleasant. This is extremely unpleasant.
Yeah, this could be objectively quite a serious problem for black.
I know, you have to immediately try to make something happen like this. Feels like you're dropping some pawn somewhere. I don't know, queen c6.
But even taking twice I think is very strong. If you take with the queen, I think I just take on b6. It's one check. You're very, very far away from creating any kind of threats here.
Fabi in trouble, what can you do? He did take on e5 immediately with the bishop.
Yeah, I think taking with the bishop makes much more sense here than taking with the knight. And probably following it up by knight c5 straight away, creating this idea of bishop d3 and maybe sort of discombobulating white a little bit. Rook f d1 is fine. Also bishop takes e4 is not stupid. But maybe the idea is to take with the knight, and if bishop d2 there might be some knight, bishop d4 there might be some knight d2 tactics, I don't know. It's possible, but I don't really see any tactics, but maybe there's something here. Queen g5 followed by knight f3 check and some kind of play for a perpetual. But f4 might be
sure this works.
Yeah, no, this is, yeah, you are going somewhat all in here on this counterplay. If this is his plan, it really needs to work perfectly for him, because otherwise his position might collapse.
Bobby Fischer loves to crush is asking in the chat, how many more games today, guys? Couple question marks. 3 more games if we're counting the current round. If we're not counting the current round, 2 more games. So it's 5 total today, 4 tomorrow, and then we have 9 games of Blitz on each of the 2 weekend days.
Yeah, we haven't looked at SAW versus MVL even once, and this is a very sharp line of the Grunfeld, which has been discussed quite seriously recently.
Wojtaszek MVL amongst other things, right?
I think the first game which featured this bishop c8 maneuver was potentially the game between Gelfand and Grishuk in one of the Tal Memorials. And that game, Alexander won in brilliant style. It was a very, very interesting game, very exciting one.
I remember the point was knight f3, bishop g4, which is a bit funny, but it works. You want to get rid of this bishop. And
it's incredibly important for black to trade off that is by far his worst piece. So trading it off for a knight is very, very advantageous to black. And another point is that you want to play bishop c8 in order to play knight fd7 next. That's kind of the point of bishop c8, let's say. Yeah, this is I think how the game went, h3. And I think he played e5 straight away here. d5, knight c5, bishop b1, and the position was very, very sharp. Initially, I think everyone playing in the tournament, including Boris, and I'm not sure about Sasha himself, felt that white must be quite seriously better here. But it turned out not to be correct. And Alexander won a very, very interesting game.
Yeah. So what they have now is another weird position. White is a bit behind in development.
I'm very curious. Let's see what happens. Let's take on a8 and on g4. I'm kind of curious why this piece has been given up. What's the immediate refutation of my piece grab?
Queen a3, what do you want? No.
Queen a3 did not occur to me, but knight b1 seems like a very decent reply, no? No, I think the idea is take on g4 and go queen a1 check and then something, but what that something is not entirely clear to me at first glance. Like knight d3 check maybe, but what? How do you follow it up? If king f1 I have knight b2, that actually seems to work, but what if king e2?
No clue.
MVL is a very exciting player who is very good at creating tremendous complications out of nowhere. Maybe rook a8 or rook. I think rook a8 is slightly better because I won't have rook a2. If king d3, rook a2, maybe this is the point.
I was looking at some checks here.
Cut it off. Don't let it return to e2 and then give some kind of mate. Maybe the idea. I still don't see any mate, to be honest. Knight c3, where is mate? Show me mate. I mean, once I play knight 1 g2, I mean knight g2, I don't really care about the rook on h1
Yeah,
one
that's the
bit.
problem. We have enough material.
I mean, yeah,
to do this.
we've collected enough material here to just go for this position, play king c2 here, not to blunder queen d1 mate, and then start. Yeah, playing bishop b7 queen d1 mate would be a bit of a mistake, but you don't really have to allow that. Like king c2 here, and these two knights will do a tremendously efficient job of covering every single square from which your king can be attacked on c2. So I'm very, very curious if Wesley will actually pick up this gauntlet and take on g4 twice. And I think he should if he wants to. I mean, if he doesn't, he will never ever be better and probably will be slightly worse, I think. If he wants to bail out, he can take on f6 in the position they have on the board right now. Just to mention that, you know, options exist for him. Rook a8, queen a8. Nope. Still no.
Can't find these guys, so we'll leave you with the world champion-esque hat against Levon Aronian and keep looking at this position.
Yeah, here, instead of bishop g4, you can go bishop f6, bishop b2, knight g2, bishop takes f6, castles.
Yeah, it's boring though.
And,
black is fine.
Yeah, black goes e5, and black is sort of never ever wars, but neither is white, I guess. Queen b3, rook b1. You maybe even have some slight hopes for white still, because the knight is not on e6. Had the knight been on e6, I would pick black, but the knight takes 3 tempi to get to e6 here.
Let's still go there.
Rook a1. It gets kind of awkward.
Yeah, it's true.
It gets a little bit awkward. So maybe, you know, and bishop takes g4 has been played. I mean, kudos to Wesley.
Action.
He is not dodging the. He is not dodging the sharp fight here. Bishop g4 is a very welcome choice by Wesley, you know, in terms of just sheer excitement. And knight takes g4 has been played.
Knight g4.
Yeah. Well, once again, if you want, you can play knight g2, and then you will not get mated. But it's a full piece. Don't you want to collect the full piece here if you're white?
I want the full piece.
All right. Bottled Magnus. Very important.
How did we get all this madness?
That was knight d3. Yeah, that was knight d3 followed by rook a8. I'm not sure if that's what Maxim means, but I mean, white is 2 moves away from complete consolidation. Maybe rook a8 first, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Because queen e2, rook a2 is horrible. Knight e2, knight d3 check is probably horrible as well. Rook a2, yeah, should be made. White is not in time to play knight c3. It's very important for white to play knight c3, but if he is not in time to do that, he will get chased down and torn apart.
And Wesley's played knight g2. He does believe Maxim, which means he goes e5 now, or what does he do?
I guess he goes e5. I think.
Castle or whatnot.
Yeah. Maybe.
Is e4 a move?
Yeah, I was wondering if this is a move to consider here. Followed by, you know, g5, f5, and, you know, all out assault on the king side. But it's not that easy to achieve much on the king side. Yeah. Like h3, drive it back to f6 so that this assault is slightly slower, and then, I don't know, queen a4. But then takes rook a8. This is fine for black, I think, because black is the one to occupy the one open file on the queen side. I think this should be okay. Still, knight ec3, rook b1. It's a good practical choice, but I'm still somewhat saddened we didn't get to see what Maxim meant in the position with, with a full expert piece for his opponent.
Might just not, have worked. Where do we go? Mr. Fress.
Yeah, Fress is seriously better against Fabi.
Yeah, Fabi, I think he mixed up his line somewhere, maybe with this too early a5. I don't know where it went wrong. Maybe instead of bishop e4, you're supposed to start with e6. I don't know. Then knight h4, maybe. So anyway,
something went somewhat wrong somewhere in this game. Yeah, rook fc1. Like maybe he wants to go rook a8, rook a7, or rook a6. I mean, and then rook fa8. And if we play rook c7, I want to play knight c5, give you this pawn, and then go rook fa8.
This looks a bit painful, though.
Yeah. Maybe rook a7 actually. Yeah, let's go rook a7. Bishop b6 takes rook fa8, and pretend this is okay.
Why would this be okay, though?
This is why I use the word pretend there.
Gotcha.
It's not lost, but yeah, it's not enjoyable. Maybe it is lost actually. Rook c7. I don't know if it's needed, but yeah, let's say rook bb7 here and start pushing. With this pawn on e5, it's just very, very difficult for black to create any counterplay on the queen on the king's side. Yeah, like
anyone.
so we will drive the pawn up to b6, and then we will start bringing our king over. Probably we'll have to sacrifice something on the king's side, but with the structure on the king's side looking the way it does, it should be good.
Fabi exchanged one pair of rooks probably now. He wants to go rook a8 and hope
yeah, it leads to similar positions like rook d6, rook a7, and if Fress wants, he can take on b6 and it will be the same endgame.
I was wondering if he can go here.
Rook b6? Knight d3 or something. Ah, this is clever.
Now I have some counterplay.
Yeah, this is actually quite decent for black, right? Although, I mean, even here maybe. No, but there's knight e1 check there, which is awkward. I wanted to go king f3, rook a2, e4. But knight e1 check is, I think, a very awkward move to meet correctly.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, if white wants, he can just go rook c2 back and prepare some kind of improving maneuver.
Yeah,
knight c5 I can take.
C5.
Oh no, we have rook c8 here. Bishop c5, rook c8. Yeah, maybe I was over-optimistic about Fress's chances. If he wants that endgame, he has to play rook c7, I guess. Not rook d6 and not rook c2, but yeah, like this. I take on c5 and I go rook b5. But it's an improved version for black because he is up a number of tempi compared to the positions we were discussing, like h5, g5.
Might still be good winning chances, though.
Yeah, h5, h4, yeah. Black is not going to enjoy it anyway. Rook c7 has been played by Fress, unsurprisingly. Yeah, I think we're headed towards this endgame, and Fress will like his chances in particular because, well, quite clearly Black has zero, counterplay of any serious kind. So it's a rook endgame with an extra pawn where you can push forever. Maybe you don't win, but you're the side.
No, and Fress is a good technical player. He enjoys his rook endgames, so yeah. This has gone horribly wrong for Fabiano Caruana, who is inactive in rapid play, and it tells, at least his rating is inactive. He's not in the top 100. What's going on here? Is Anish...
Should be a draw.
In trouble?
No. No, just rook takes f4 and shake hands, more or less.
Okay, another draw for Mr. Geary. And in the Carlsen-Aronian fight, Magnus Carlsen trying to make something happen with very limited means. But is he going to?
Well, Black needs to solve sort of immediate problems because he's somewhat discoordinated. White is much more sort of tightly bunched together. You don't want to allow bishop takes b6, so you take, and after queen takes, you have to worry about queen c5 followed by b5. That's the one threat you need to deal with.
I want to go all the way back home.
Queen c5.
Or hang on.
Queen
Maybe I want to
a7,
stop
yeah.
one square earlier. Yeah.
Queen a7 was what I was looking at here. Queen d2 or something, and now queen b8 or a8 or somewhere.
Yeah, it's a question.
Still, you probably think white is, you know, ever so slightly better after knight e3, but yeah, it's not a lot. Knight
If I
e7.
can get queen d8, I should be fine, right? Or you want to take a knight d5? Nah, that should
Maybe
be fine.
yeah, should be very close to complete equality. So, yeah, Lev is f3 though. Is f3 an issue? No,
The
but then,
Giri game has ended in a draw against Hikaru Nakamura, so that's 3 draws for Anish Giri in the event so far.
yeah, somebody offered me to set a line on over-under number of draws Anish will make in this event versus number of wickets Jimmy Anderson will take at Lords against Sri Lanka. And I was about to reply to this saying that, come on, there's 27 games of chess here. And you can only take, you know, if Jimmy has the game of his life, he will take maybe 12 wickets, which is unlikely on the wicket they're playing on. But, you know, with the start, I was about to take Anish, is what I'm trying to say, to win a lot of games in this tournament. But the start is not as exciting as I'd hoped. Sorry about that.
No, go ahead. I'm guessing there was cricket, yeah?
Yeah. No, FE just queen a8 seems to be fine, right?
Yeah.
It might be the only move that solves black's problems, but it's very efficient.
I'm in trouble if I go.
b5. Well, maybe not. Yeah, knight a5. Just give the c7 pawn, go for counterplay.
And then yeah, some queen e1 I would not.
Yeah.
Not necessary.
Yeah, takes. The queen takes e3 has been played, and we think queen a7 is probably the most efficient way of dealing with this.
I'm still not sure if queen a8 or queen a7, because there's something to be said about being able to challenge on the d file. Queen c5.
Yeah, Lev goes bishop g8. Lev says, okay, I'm not worse at all, and I'm not worried. I'm not trying to equalize a position where I'm in no trouble, which is a nice attitude.
Yeah, he's arguing his queen is just as active as the white queen can get.
But still, after queen c5, what's his what's his plan? Queen e1 or something? Maybe queen e1 is quite decent here. Bishop, let's say d3. I'm still a little bit confused by this choice. Bishop b5.
At some point you have to retreat, yeah?
Yeah, but then let's say, I don't know, take twice, go knight e3. You might be slightly worse. Maybe not even slightly. You might actually regret all these decisions.
Here?
With the king on h8, yeah.
Why?
I don't know, c4, b5.
Not time.
I don't know, but, well. Here you probably lose a piece, actually. Yeah, here you lose a piece. So, no, you need to pay some attention to what's going on here. You can't just be as blasé about it as you trying to here.
Paying attention is not really my strong suit. So, how do we get here? Queen c5. I can still go queen a7 if I really feel like.
Yeah, queen f8, queen b8, yeah, you could, yeah. That actually is a good point.
Paid attention. Fress is paying attention. He's gotten in this g4, keeping the black king out forever. I have a feeling this might be lost, like, as a rule of thumb, which of course doesn't always apply, but if it's 4 against 4 and the passed pawn, you're normally losing. Like, here technically it's 5 out of 5. You can reduce the number of pawns a bit. What do you think?
I don't know, it feels to me like it might still be holdable somehow, but yeah, it's very, very worrisome for black. The thing is, I'm not quite sure how the king gets to, you know, anywhere good. And I guess Fabi actually wants to reduce the number of pawns because he immediately blitzed out rook g2, I think with the idea of meeting b4 with d4. And then he will start playing against the white weaknesses.
That's smart, because then e5 becomes a bit of a target. Can you avoid that, or is that asking for trouble? E4, rook d3 or something.
e4, even rook b2, and hardly make any progress.
Yeah.
And now I can wait forever because this king is really, really stupid on f3 with no squares.
Well, if we have to take, let's say, then this rook is extremely active.
Yeah, rook f4 check followed by rook e4. I mean, the weakness on e5 will be very telling here.
He has also whatever.
Yeah, and then end h5 immediately. You do get a lot of... Although here after f3, your own rook is a bit trapped. I'm not sure if white can use it though, because eventually you'll have to play b4 and then it will have the c4 square. Yeah, unclear. Let's have a look at Topalov-Kramnik, because that one is...
Maybe you have to really, yeah, I was just gonna say, really be slow and stop d4 for now, just to improve first. Yeah, he's gone rook b4.
Yeah. Vladimir actually seems to be winning against against his nemesis.
With black even, yeah?
Yeah, with black, which is not...
Only white wins that matchup.
Yeah. In recent history, white has a tremendous score in games between Kramnik and Topalov, regardless of who plays white. But in this game, I think something has gone badly wrong for Veselin.
Clicking through my angles available, here we have...
Yeah, let's briefly have a look at how this happened. But yeah, I think
we've seen all this. And yeah, if you gotta go knight 3h2, normally that's not a cause
yeah,
for optimism.
really don't like this move. I think both knight g5 and knight 3g2 made more sense, because now this knight is completely locked in. He played f3 trying to solve this problem, but now Vladimir's play is just very, very natural. Bishop f5, f takes, bishop takes. It does sacrifice a pawn on h5, but who cares about the pawn on h5 when you are so active? Knight f6, takes. I wonder why he allowed rook e1. What's wrong with queen d1 here? No, I mean, even after taking, I think it leads to the same position. Why not queen d1 here? It's a really strange choice to allow rook e1 here, I think.
It's a really ugly position either way.
Yeah, knight h4 or queen d5. But knight h4, maybe I can somehow manage to play bishop g5 and not lose. Knight g2, king g2, queen d5 check, knight f3. Maybe I'm not actually getting mated. It's a strange decision. Yeah, queen f3 is a very strange move. I cheated a little bit because I was very curious, and the machine suggests that queen d1 is slightly worse for white but manageable, and queen f5 is just fine. But queen f5 is a difficult move to make. Queen f5 is not very natural. Queen d1, though, stopping rook e1 would be my first choice, sort of in most cases here. Instead, he went to queen f3, rook e1. Probably he felt that after king f2 he will drive the rook away. But after knight h4, it suddenly turns out that he's sort of out of squares here. Queen d3, and yeah, I think there's probably even more than one solution here. And Vlad just plays queen e6. And yeah, this position now looks horrible. There has to be like any number of threats which seem to be completely winning. For instance, if you, let's say, play rook b1, I know it's a horrible move, but knight e4 check, king takes e1, knight g2 check, and we win the queen after king e2, knight c5. King d1, knight f2, and knight e2, king e2, knight c5 just picks up the queen. So yeah, I mean, generally speaking, if you look at the position currently after queen e6, to have such complete domination, you normally sacrifice a lot more than just one pawn.
Yeah, close.
Yeah, I mean, if you take off black's sort of entire queen side, the position might still be quite bad for white. But for one pawn, this is horrible. So it seems like Vladimir is about to beat his old enemy.
Sure looks like it. Well, Carlsen Aronian, it does seem like Levon is defending. Queen c5, queen a7 is on the board, queen b5 has been played.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward for black still, because the queen on b5 is definitely more active than the queen on a7. White can play something like knight e3 followed by bishop c4, try to expose the black king, which is a bit drafty there on h8 with the pawn already on f6. But yeah, it should be manageable somehow, like maybe knight d8 at an opportune moment.
That's what I was thinking about.
Queen d7.
A problem or not?
Queen b8. I don't know. Knight e3. It's a bit awkward actually. It's still a little bit awkward. Which is why I felt that I think bishop g8 may have been a bit. I mean, queen a7 here. Why would you allow queen c5 at all? Just drive it towards worse squares. Get your king somewhere toward. Get your queen towards d8, as you were suggesting. And once it lands on d8, I mean, how big of How big of an issue can this position be? And now, I'm not saying that black is much worse, but you can imagine a sequence of events which can lead to him being in trouble here.
Well, worst case scenario, you can go here, but you're saying you have to suffer a little bit.
Yeah, this is not ideal. Against Magnus, you don't want this endgame. It might not be horrible, but it also could be quite horrible because bishop c4. Yeah, bishop c4, and then some kind of a knight endgame with the weak b pawns might be very troublesome for black. Yeah.
This doesn't look like so much fun.
And,
I don't know, maybe 95. No, not here. So.
Yeah, takes. I don't know if I need to take, bring your king closer by myself. Maybe something like f3. Make you.
I wanted this, but then this looked like a good move.
Yeah, this probably is not ideal for white.
Yeah,
Knight d6 followed
slightly
by
worse. I don't know how big the chances are.
might still be okay, but yeah, it's a bit of a sad choice against Magnus because you just know how, how much of how happy he will be about having to play this position with white.
Yep.
I'm
Levon still has some work to do.
Yeah, I'm being somewhat distracted by English batsmen getting out at weird times, but
Thanks for the update. Knight g4 by
here takes knight g2 is apparently winning by force, which is not really that surprising, to be honest. White is playing, white has one defender. The bishop on c1 and the rook on a1 are not really contributing to the defense at all. Queen takes g4, king f2, queen h4 check, king g2, and I guess you switch the rook over somehow. Like rook e4 or something, or rook e6, I don't know, somewhere.
Yeah, still has to be calculated. Not
No,
that easy
sure.
for
It's not a straightforward victory you spot in 5 seconds. But I guess if you wanted to go some other way, in the current position after knight g4 hg, probably bishop f4 is very strong. I get the feeling it has to be enough as well. Maybe g3 is a chance here for white, but I don't believe it works. Maybe you have to. g3, bishop c1, gh, and pray there's nothing here.
Maybe there isn't.
Yeah, I don't see anything, but it just it feels like many things should be winning here for black, but maybe that's an overstatement. Maybe you actually do need to be precise. And he does play knight takes g2, which is, I mean, it's a very natural choice because you completely destroy the structure around the king, and you always have a perpetual there, and you can look for more than a perpetual at your leisure. Which is a nice spot to be in. King f2 is the only move. King g2 is strictly the only move. And now something, yeah, some kind of I guess rook back should win. I'm wondering if after queen g2, I mean queen g4, king f2, if rook d1 is a good move. Could be. I don't know. Queen e2. I can't refute queen e2 for the time being. I also have to point out that after king f2, if we go two ply back, I can go rook takes c1 here. If I don't find any mate, I can go rook takes c1 here, queen f4 check, queen takes c1, and this shouldn't be a difficult technical task, to be honest, with a bishop against knight and two connected pass pawns on the king side. But there's probably some kind of mate here as well.
So it looks like Vladimir Kramnik's going to win. Let's see if Magnus Carlsen can find inroads into Levon Aronian's slightly passive position.
Yeah, some kind of knight e3, maybe not immediately because it allows check and queen takes c3, which is not something you want to give black.
You could go
knight e3 d1. No, it doesn't look good. Maybe even the immediate bishop c4. I understand it's slightly weird, but king h2 has been played, so well done you. Yeah, he wants to go knight e3 before committing to any kind of piece trades, which is very sensible.
What does Levon do? You go b6 at some point? Everything is a bit of a concession, so there's no easy way to
maybe you do play
get
b6.
these pieces in harmony.
Knight e7. No,
Queen
would take
D7
queen
bother
d7.
me?
Yeah, queen d7.
I don't know if I can get away with stuff like this, but it feels very.
No, it already
living on the
feels
edge.
like your queen a4 might be winning by force here.
It's very tricky.
Bishop b5, knight d5. Looks like the game is close to over. Suddenly.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Like it's typical Carlsen stuff. Like nothing's happening on paper. He even has the worst bishop, but he's still keeping a bit of pressure on the black position.
Sure.
Not easy.
No, not at all. And also, you when you play a game like this against him, you feel like it should have been over. You feel like the position is so symmetrical and the material is so limited that you must be doing something wrong for the game to still be continuing, and it starts gnawing at you. It's not a pleasant feeling. You feel like you're slightly misplaying it with every move.
So, what do you got? Draw or wide win?
I still think it should be a draw. Maybe queen c8 followed by knight e7 to stop queen d7 and finally rework my pieces into some kind of a normal shape. But yeah, it's
Yeah, you can still keep it going. I don't know. Maybe now queen c5 again or whatever.
knight e3, knight d5 might not be completely ridiculous. There's also bishop g4, which I forgot about. So knight e3, knight e7, bishop g4, or the immediate bishop g4.
Yeah, that is a problem. No, not a pleasant task for Levon. Very unpleasant task for Topalov, who's probably lost. Fabiano is still trying to hang in there against Laurent Fressinet.
Yeah, very curious endgame. I'm not quite sure what to think about it.
Whereas black to rook d5, and we start running.
I don't know if you're in time to start running this early, because rook e5, king, where do you play? King where? g4, rook e2, I think I still have time for rook e2. And
I'm always scared of losing such a thing with white, like if I start running too early.
no, but hang on. In that position, we could play. No, rook c8, rook b2, rook a8 maybe. Yeah, rook e8. E8 I like. Yeah, rook e8 forces rook b2. Then we play king c5, and we've only given up one pawn, so we should be.
That should be winning.
We
Now
should
the
probably
king
be
is
winning
also
here.
cut off.
King f6 though. King e5. But that shouldn't be fast enough, right? Maybe I should throw in rook c2 check somewhere, right? King rook takes f2.
Do I have to go here? Maybe I can-
Check. I will, I think, be able to actually pick up the f2 pawn, so it will depend on these endgames, which might not be so easily winning anymore.
No.
King e5,
What's that? Might
give the
lose.
rook up.
Also, I still need some tempo to cash in the rook, right?
Yeah.
So, what other options are there? You could go f4, but then you take
Take rook d3, yeah,
and
that probably is wrong.
this is a
that-
fast
yeah.
run.
That doesn't feel right at all.
King e4 is possible.
But he didn't play rook b5, rook d5. He played rook b2 instead. So this is the position they have on the board. And now,
He just wants to wait, yeah?
yeah, he probably needs to wait, because if he goes f6, I have a feeling white might be winning after just taking and playing b7. It might be enough. Or not. No, this probably is a draw, even if you lose the e6 pawn, right?
Yeah.
Is it? Not sure, because I think I can pick up the h4 pawn, which is kind of important.
The h4 pawn?
Yeah, I think I could. Let's say go king e4.
Figure this out. I'm doing nothing.
King. No, I need to go king d4, king c4, king c5. Go y d6, of course. I mean, that's the only way to pick this up.
Anyway, you get the e6 pawn.
Let's put this on the board somehow. Rook b1, king d6. You have to play rook b2. No, this loses to king c7 immediately. So you can't do this at all. You have to go rook b2, king e6, rook b6 check, I guess, or somewhere, right?
Oh yeah, the problem long term, okay, I'm not doing this the fastest way, but whatever, is that white can get in f4, recapture with the king, and then attack this pawn, because the black king always has to stay between g7 and
No,
h7.
but this doesn't work actually.
avoid
How
the
do we
tricks.
get there? Let's say we go rook b1 here. How do we get there? Let's say if I play f4, gf, king d3, rook b3, king e2. There's king h7, g7 for
No, this we can't do, but can we bring the king around first?
Also rook b3 check, I'm just ignoring
Okay,
that.
well, I would say I go f4 here, king f3,
And then
king g5.
yeah, g5. This might be fast enough. That was sort of what I was talking about. If rook b3 check, rook b4 check, there is the h5 square. Though king h7 here might be okay, no? Probably not.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, very hard to believe. But I mean, this loses. This, or does it? Yeah, this probably loses because I can just play rook d8.
Yeah, 2 pawns win.
But we're getting hugely carried away. And Fres did something very strange. Fres
Gave the h pawn.
he gave the h pawn. Or maybe not very strange, because what could he have done in this position? f3 looks very ugly. So he played b6, rook b3 check, king d4, rook takes h3, rook a8, rook b3, and king c5. And he is saying, your king is so passive that I don't really even care that the pawn gets to h2. I will play rook a1, rook h1, force you to protect it, and then I will play some. But these normally end in a draw, right? Like h3, for instance, king c6, h2, rook h1, and then I start checking.
Only the pawn can't queen with just the help of the king, as far as I know.
Yeah, this is what I was trying to illustrate. Like in this position, black just plays any move. Let's say rook h1, rook h3, and yeah, once the king leaves the shelter on b8, you start giving checks. This probably is. Hang on. Yeah, this probably is a draw, right?
Yeah, so rook h1, was there something?
Maybe
I
rook.
forgot where the rook was. King a7.
Ah, yeah, sorry. Here, king a7 probably wins.
Yeah.
So we did something wrong there, I guess.
Well, king g6 was a bit too much of a pass, probably. Rook a3 or whatever.
Ah, yeah, of course. Although with the pieces being where they are, I might consider this. Oh no,
King a7?
Yeah,
Queen c1.
Queen c1, yeah. Queen c1 is maybe the only move that, maybe not even the only move.
Ah, do we have the old queening prom? Once in
Yeah.
a while, this little software doesn't enjoy a pawn promoting to a queen and takes a little time out until it has decided what to offer us. But yeah, this has to be a draw.
Yeah. So very curious. h3 rook a1 has been played, and yeah, it feels like now Fabi should be holding this without too much drama.
Yeah, you want to go h2. How do we do this? Rook h1, rook h3, b7.
And now
So
we go rook.
start checking.
Yeah, rook b3, king c6, and now we check. Fabi played f6, which I wonder if he's trying to bring the king in and play for a win here, which would be, I think, maybe slightly over-ambitious, but...
How can you play for a win? King c6.
Yeah. No, I mean, if, let's say, f6, queen f6, e6, king f6, king c6, king e5, these types of positions you can sort of imagine black eventually playing for a win, even though even this is kind of unlikely. King f4, king c7. No, even this probably is a draw, but nobody's going to give him.
For
Yeah, I mean, why would you activate? This you could lose with white. Rook a3, king g2. This you could actually lose
I
with
queened again. Why do I keep doing that? Oh yeah, that's
In the meantime,
construction.
Vladimir, who probably had some kind of mate on the board with rook e6, decided to play rook takes c1 and queen g5 check, and Veselin just resigned because he did
Playing
not.
it safe, yeah, why not?
He did not believe he could save a position where he is a pawn down, and black also has the better minor piece. Now this actually is dangerous for white.
Yeah,
I think.
agreed.
Although maybe not. Maybe a 4 is fine. Yeah, this is the final position in Kramnik Topalov. Topalov could have played on for a while, but I think the result is not really in doubt here anymore.
Right. Let's have a look at Mr. Fabi suffering through this rook endgame. One of the more tenacious dudes around Fabi. He doesn't easily roll over just because he messed up the opening.
Yeah, I don't think he's suffering anymore. He's just going to give those checks and play rook b3 whenever the king leaves the b-pawn. And I have a feeling the game...
d7, what does he do now? King
rook
f7?
b3.
Or rook b3.
Rook b3 I think is perfectly sufficient here. With the pawn on h3, black really isn't in any danger whatsoever. I have a feeling this game will end in draw soon. Wesley is a pawn down against MVL. We haven't really looked at this game.
Oh, that's true, yeah, we've ignored this for a while.
In a long while, yeah.
Is this just winning?
So I think it's very difficult to hold for white, although maybe you can activate your king enough. Like c4 has been played, maybe you can play king e2. Because with the king on h7, you black can't really trade queens.
I'm wondering, can't... the problem is if you go here, king e2, this you can take. Because normally, if you get your queen on this diagonal, it's just over. You just push the pawn. Not time for that.
c4, king e2 is on the board, yeah. And it's not a trivial technical task for MVL, but neither is defending this position, to be honest. So,
especially in rapid. I like black's chances. King g8. Queen e6 check was not yet a threat.
No. And it's not a threat even with the king on g8. Takes king d2 is perfectly sufficient. But yeah, queen c3 has been played. You can switch to 3 against 2 on one side, but those you more or less never win, I guess.
Queen h5.
Or queen e6, yeah, one of those.
No, he's played h5.
I think h4, yeah.
h4.
Yeah, h4 is a sensible decision here to never blunder this pawn ever again, so...
Then... What do? You maneuver around, right? Like
you just shuffle. You just shuffle around
somewhere,
forever.
See what happens,
yeah, try and bring the king over to e6, f5 somewhere like there, and maybe penetrate on the king side if allowed.
Let's see if we have video of those dudes. We might not have video of those dudes.
Fabi seems troubled because white does have this idea of playing b7 and king a7. Which kind of makes you wonder if he should have played h2 earlier. He could have had a very similar position, but with the pawn already on h2, which should have been enough to give him enough time to drive the rook to away from a1. But even here, I think, yeah, we were discussing this. h2, b7, rook a3 is still fine. We think. Rook h3 now. Because without the rook either on c1 or on a1, white can never really avoid those.
No, I was wondering if there's anything good could come out of some expedition like this, no?
Well, you have to try it. Rook b3, king takes a6, but should be a draw fe5. But yeah, this is sort of playable for white, I guess, yeah?
Well, no, at least you have to be
king
f5
f5 maybe. But should still be a draw. Take rook f7 and rook f3 and then e4, e3. It's actually an easy draw anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's useful.
Yeah, h2 b7 has been played, and yeah, rook a3 is probably the most comfortable way to deal with this, and he does play rook a3. I mean, Fabi is unlikely to miss stuff like this. Hang on a second, rook c1.
What's your point?
Take. King c8.
A little timeout coming, sorry about that.
King c8 because queen h8. I was so happy about queen c8, king c8 followed by rook c7, but...
but queen h8, king c7,
yeah.
Doesn't the story continue?
Oh, this is very nice, potentially.
It's worth the wait.
Yeah, this is the difference with between the rooks on a3 and c3, because here we have this rook c7 check as a threat. It's a much better square.
This just wins. There's no move.
Okay, so Laurent needs to find this, and then ball will be firmly in Fabi's court here.
Can we do better here? Rook h3 is not in time, just king c7.
Rook h3, king c7 is resignable, seemingly.
Fe king c7 is also nothing. Like you can go h1 queen and give some checks, but that should just be lost. The king goes to b8.
Yeah, no, but then you're
more
never
than enough time.
you're never fast enough there. Yeah.
So yeah, this is the critical line, but it seems to
Takes,
work. Huh?
takes. Once again, everything will freeze now.
No, get used to it.
King c8. You need to see king c8.
Yeah,
but
there's counterplay.
yeah, there's queen a1 or queen e1 or any of those moves. And rook c1. Laurent.
Mr. Fress, and he's holding his head. I think he's seeing some tricks himself.
Ah. This is I mean, it's a very, very nice idea to spot in a rapid game in particular. I mean, we're here in a studio, no pressure. Not our pieces.
No pressure. Lots of pressure.
Not our pieces. Hang on a second. Rook c3 takes queen, king c8.
This time I didn't like the queening operation as much. But tell me, what's your point?
Queen h8 check, king c7, queen h2.
Geometry. Rook c5.
Queen takes f2. Rook c6.
Rook c6.
Might still be winning for white. It's amazing. Check, king c7, queen h2. We need to go rook c5 because b8 white is actually worse, might be lost. Rook c5, queen f2. Looks like the only move. And now after rook c6, queen a7, king b8, queen a4, rook c7, check. And it's a draw. Is it? It's a draw anyway, no?
Why is it a draw? You have a perpetual?
No, king g6, b8, queen e8, queen b5.
Yeah, same.
No, I want it
sorry.
away from checks. So this is... But queen a8, I don't see a draw immediately after queen a8.
King 8?
Yeah, king a8, sorry, yeah.
Isn't this one of these mechanisms? Oh no, it's not.
It's not because the pieces are slightly different.
Yeah, the pawn is in the way.
So Laurent needs to spot all this and needs to believe his calculations here. No, this will be a draw, but
Yeah,
rook,
just illustrating.
yeah, rook b7 would be a bit of a lemon here. But yeah, no, this is. I'm suddenly happier about my day. It's always nice to spot things like this.
So rook c3 is on the board. I'm sure Laurent is considering.
He definitely is, but he needs to see all this stuff and evaluate it properly. And I think the only reason Fabi is having these issues is he played f6.
Yeah, that was a strange choice.
On move 45, he could have just gone h2, which I think would lead to more or less immediate draw, as far as we could tell. h2, and you know, in the same position, you just have rook h3, and Laurent does take on c3, so it's very, very cool now.
Let's stay with the action for now.
King c8, and yeah, let's keep the board video as well because it's slightly faster, I think, than the transmission.
All of this has been played. Fabi is resilient, so he's gonna come up with queen h8 and queen h2.
Yeah, there's nothing else, so he will see this as the only chance because there really isn't anything else he can try here. Magnus in the meantime is much better against Lev, or maybe not much better, but has a very pleasant position with a lot of pressure. But we'll stick with this, yeah.
Yeah, this is on the board.
This is on the board, and
Looks like Fress missed queen h2, yeah?
Yeah, but he should spot rook c5 because he really doesn't have any other options either. Rook e3 makes no sense whatsoever, and allowing this is much worse compared. So you play rook c5 simply out of semi-desperation. Rook c5, rook c6. You just make those moves because no other moves really present themselves. Yeah, rook c5 on the board. Queen f2 will be played a tempo because once again, nothing else exists in a way of options.
6, yeah, this is calculated now.
Yeah, and queen a7, king c8. This is an extremely beautiful idea. I'm very happy about this.
The problem is you're still way too slow for any of these things.
Yeah,
like,
with the king on g7, these things sort of never ever work.
So queen a7 is forced, and king c8. Queen a4, that's what we were looking at.
Yeah.
Rook c7.
Yeah. And you have to note that it looks like most of these things actually only moves from white as well. It's not a difficult line to calculate because it's so direct, but still, you need to see all of these things.
Come on, queen. Looking at the Chess24 chat, Caruana, please resign like a man. No man in the world would resign here.
Yeah. That's just not happening.
And Carlsen won. Did he win? No, the game is still ongoing here.
But he is winning.
Unreliable narrators in the Chess24 chat. It's not like Twitter where people say the truth.
Yeah, but Magnus is completely winning now.
Right. Well, we'll stick with the action here for a minute and then.
Yeah, we've had all of
round
this.
Up the others.
We've had all of this on the board sort of ahead of time, which I'm very happy about. And
we still haven't figured out. This is not a perpetual, right?
no, I don't think it is.
I should stop this. These sad queening operations, but yeah, they're blitzing out all these moves.
B8 queen. And queen e8 shouldn't be a perpetual, and trying to run on the king side should never ever be enough in positions like this, as I mentioned.
MVL won in the meantime his queen endgame against Wesley, so
yeah, as mentioned, the easiest plan for black is to somehow get the king to f5 g4, and then the white king side will collapse. And it seems like Wesley allowed that plan, realized it will happen soon, and resigned, which is sensible, saving everybody time.
And Fabi is looking for the perpetual, but it doesn't seem to be there. King a8. What were we doing? I can't remember. I think queen b7.
Queen b7, I think, is sufficient.
Yeah, it's just running out of checks.
Yeah, queen g8, king a7, queen d4, queen b6, queen a4, king b7, queen e4, queen b8, and
or king b8 here is also doing
yeah,
the job.
king b8 and rook c8 is also perfectly sufficient. No, I think from here on out is not particularly hard.
Should be smooth sailing for Mr. Fress, who's going to be very happy. He repeats once, probably just to gain a bit of time on the clock.
Sure.
And goes
Very
king a8.
sensible, and goes king a8, yeah, as expected. He should convert from here.
Okay, then let's go on a little tour of whatever other action we do have.
That's a draw between Giri and Nakamura. This
That's
is the Magnus game against
for
Lev. Lev was actually more lost than he is right now. At some point he had I think a completely lost position, was losing by force. He might still be lost here because the king on a5 is very safe and the b pawn will run. But queen g3 maybe, creating some checking opportunities for the future.
How many checks you got?
Not that many actually. That's a good point. Yeah, and
It's quite safe here too.
and the point is that at some point queen g7 even will be a winning threat because the king, the knight is not close enough to prevent the b pawn from queening.
Yeah. Using our PhDs in body language,
Lev is
it
not
does
impressed.
look like
Yeah.
Lev on his, sort
Lev
of
is
given up.
not impressed with his position, unsurprisingly. And at some point it could have been even worse. He shouldn't have gotten even sort of this far in his defensive efforts.
Yeah, his position is on the board. Queen c3 check. King a6, queen a3.
King b7 forces queen g3, and now you can play b6, and it's the same position, but the b pawn progressed
Queen
a lot.
a7 is hopeless, just takes on b6.
Yeah, takes on b6, or takes on knight takes f6 first. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
Anything wins there. Yeah, he played queen g3, and after b6, he's looking for a move, but really no move exists anymore. He's in complete zugzwang here. Magnus is in no hurry.
Is this winning already? Like
Probably,
can't
yeah.
calculate.
Yeah, he played queen g6, but just king b8, b7. There's really no hurry. Or king a7, b7. Magnus shouldn't really. I mean, he doesn't need to calculate, so why calculate?
Yeah, but this.
Yeah,
Just runs front.
Magnus will win, and king a7, f5, and you can play any move here once again. 96 probably wins. B7.
Why not push?
Yeah.
Ah, that's a check.
Yeah, there is a check, but yeah. He took on f5, queen g3. He can play f6 now, for instance. And f7 and queen this pawn if he wants to. It's become very much a matter of taste what you do here, because more or less every single option wins. f6 has been played.
Yeah, this is game over. Magnus seems to have the good kind of rage after his first round accident. Yeah, he's been crushing two pretty decent players in a row in MVL and now Levon. And Levon resigns. So the world champion on 2 out of 3 or 4 out of 6 if we use the double point system.
Yeah, and Fress is close to converting his advantage as well. He will now repeat a couple of times, and yeah, he did play what he should have played there, and the king should be plenty fast enough here to rejoin the action after king d6. This is the position they have on the board right now. Yeah,
This is not a particularly close race.
no, g3 rook b3 simply, and yeah, the king is way too close for black to create any serious counterplay. Takes rook g1.
Sadistic.
Just why do that? No, yeah, that actually might not win the game. Why would you do that? You actually are coming close here to not winning.
Yeah,
Would be a ridiculous choice. After king f6, he played rook b8. Rook b1 was probably slightly cleaner, but this is also fine. Really doesn't matter very much what you do. Rook f8, king g6. You can once again play king e5 or king e6 maybe is also, yeah, king e6 is just as good. g3, rook f3 is the same position. Yeah, rook g1 and then king f5, f4 with a tempo to spare.
Not in time. Need to be here.
Yeah. With a tempo to spare. So a lot of decisive games in this round. MVL won with black against Wesley So. Fress is on the verge of beating Fabiano Caruana with white. Vladimir Kramnik beats Topalov with black. Seems like there was one draw in this round, right? Between Giri and Nakamura, and everything else was decisive.
Yeah. Wondering what the internet has to say about Anish's start to this tournament. And else, yeah, MVL joins the conversation with his first win back from -1. Vaseline Topalov looks very much out of sorts. We've seen this, yeah, quite a bit recently. We also see flashes that he can still play, but it's not consistent, so he's at 0 out of 3. Carlsen is back with a vengeance.
Yeah,
Carlsen's
arguably he could have and should have won all 3 of his games.
Sure.
He is currently on 2 out of 3 or 4 out of 6 if you look at the scoring system in this tournament. And
So it's Carlsen, Nakamura, and Vladimir Kramnik in the lead, all on 2 out of 3, while the rest.
yeah,
all over the
Fabiano dropped off the pace a little bit after losing to Laurent in this round. But still everything to play for. 6 more rounds, 2 more rounds today, and 4 more rounds tomorrow, and then 18 rounds of Blitz to look forward to.
Tough to be Vaseline. He has 0 out of 6 if you use this system, which sounds much worse than 0 out of 3.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go on a little break, and we'll be back with round number 4. Thank you guys so much.
We
for
should
hanging
start,
out.
since people constantly ask in chat, the rounds start at even time, so to speak. The next one will start in
7.
15 minutes, yeah.
See you then.